All right, Cheryl, where are you? We're recording.
Here.
All
Go
right,
ahead.
here you
There.
are.
Well, thank you so much. And it's really an honor for me to be with all of you all tonight again. And we really enjoy doing this series of, just a combination of so many of our distributors and people in leadership, I guess I should say partners, and really sharing what we know, what we've learned over the years, what we see happening and continuing to happen, which is all good. So we really wanted to concentrate on basics and the basics of our business. And I think from just our last call, everybody, I've shared my story with you. I love my business. I really feel, as I said, very blessed. The product itself is something that's been amazing for me and for my family. Just consuming it, I can't imagine being without it. But from a business standpoint, I still feel and have always felt this way, that it's almost the best kept secret, because if people really, I think, knew uh, the power of what we offer and what we have to offer, they wouldn't be able to get to us fast enough. So really what our job is to share that story with others. We're basically paid storytellers. And so tonight I wanted to just go over some of the basic things that I have found to be instrumental from a business standpoint, and that are things that I do over and over and over. It's also the way I think over and over and over, and just really the simplicity of what we do. And sometimes I think that because it is a simple business, that's confusing to people. The potential here is, it's enormous. It's exponential as far as growth and income. There is no ceiling. And so for so many people, they feel like, well, there must be something, what is it that we're missing? Because if you're going to make a lot of money, if you're going to do really well and be successful, it is supposed to be complicated. For many professions, people go to school many years or they train for many years. And it's almost like they think that needs to be the requirement if success follows. But what we're seeing more and more today in this country is entrepreneurs who realize that there are many avenues of development and income, and that this is one that certainly, if understood, and understand simplicity is what makes it powerful, is that when you can look at it and break it down to very simple steps, then you really can set up for duplication. And so you want a business that is just a duplicating factory, you might say. Is that you get a few steps in place. And it's easy to learn a few simple basics that you do over and over and over, and you teach people to do over and over and over. Now, as many of you know, they have given our, I guess you would say, our marketing model a fresh update. You might say a facelift. And what's exciting about that is there's, a little more money in it. There are a lot of bonuses that were not there before. So that's exciting in itself. But I think the most important thing to know is that, first of all, there's a lot of bonuses and a little more money in it for the same effort. But that if you are really in tune to the basics, then they're going to pay you regardless of whether you understand it or not. So that's the great news, is just if the basics are done, the check comes. And I think that's something that is very powerful, because you really learn as you do in our business, and you teach others the simplicity of what you do. They watch it. You are the model for everyone that becomes part of your team. So you want to model the activity that you want others to do. And if we look at, what is the first thing for all of us on the line is you put your business together, or you help others put their business together, what should that structure or goal be right there in the beginning from a business development? Now, certainly product and product sales are what we want to achieve, because that's actually what we're paid on, is people purchasing and consuming the product. But to really reach the world, to stretch out across the neighborhood and the city and the state and the country and the world, you need team and team development. So you want as many boots in the street, so to speak, worldwide as possible. So the first thing you want to think about is team. If you were going to start a multi-million-dollar business. And I have to say this exactly what this is. I certainly didn't realize it when I first started, but it is a business that can bring you multi-millions in income. If you were going to put together a multi-million-dollar business, who would you want your core people to be that you were going to do that with? Who would you want your board of directors to be? Who would you want that core group that you were going to lock arms with, and together you all would go out and capture the world? So I invite you to step into a big picture by really looking at who would that core team be. So when I start with a new team member, first of all, I'm going to encourage them to build a business as quickly as possible, and that could be we're out of the gate quickly or we're consistent, but you want to have as much width as possible, meaning as many team members sponsored directly to yourself as possible, because that sets up a model for duplication, which lays a foundation for huge exponential growth. So if we look at you having, 3 team members across sponsored by yourself, you may meet some of the requirements to grow up through our business, but just think, if you had 5 team members across, or 8 or 10, exponentially, as you look at the growth of your business, it will go from a few hundred to thousands and thousands and, hundreds of thousands as time goes on. So width will set you up for the best return. So if I could write anything and just have you, it's never going to leave the front of your head. It's going to be that you would want as many people sponsored directly to yourself as possible. And what you would do then is set up a model for those to do the same thing. So if I were to start with a new person, today, what I would do is I would be their secretary. And I know many of you have seen this. I refer to it as my homework sheets because it is basically, I was a teacher for many years, so homework makes sense. And the first thing we're going to do is get that person's story. Tonight, that's really what our presentation was about, right? It was Rachel's story. We all really enter the marketplace and really grow our businesses through stories. As I said, we're paid storytellers. So we want to get that story right from the very beginning so the person realizes what it is and can share it with other people. So just the basic things, and you heard this in Rachel's story, and of course she gave you the full story. As I put this together with a new person, we'll get the short version, and then as your business grows, it will turn into a longer version, but you always want that short version. What attracted you to Juice Plus? Rachel shared that with you. Why she decided to take it, why it made sense to her, why she would take it forever. Those 3 things are very powerful as soon as a person starts, even if they haven't filled out their application, or ordered their product, they can answer those questions because they have a desire. Something has attracted them. So potential is what people step into, and that's what they look for, is what's in it for them. So if you share with people what attracted you, other people will put themselves into that picture. Then of course, from a business standpoint, it's very much the same thing. What attracted you to the business? Rachel shared that with you as well. Why did you decide you wanted to pursue this? You heard these things in all of her story. These are you might say, the guideposts in putting the story together. And what is it that you hope to achieve for yourself or your family? These things, again, even if you've not signed your application yet or your new team member has not, they can answer these questions. So now there's already a story of hope and potential. And again, that attracts more than anything else, more than acquired gain, more than anything. It's going to be hope and potential of what you see for yourself so that others can step into that picture. Now, at that point, with that person that I'm going to work with, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to get at least 15 names of those people that they would like to be that core group, that board of directors, you might say. Who do they like, love, and admire that they would really like to work with? Now, I do this for a reason: like, love, and admire. People who admire each other tend to think alike. So if this has been, something that really appeals to the person that you're working with, it's brand new, then it's going to appeal probably to some of the people that they admire. And so if I can get 15 names of people who they feel strongly about, we usually can get at least 2 to 3, sometimes 4 distributors from that. So my goal always is to put together, a little group, core group, 2, 3, 4 team members right out of the gate, so that there's that synergy of people showing up for each other, to support each other, to have fun together, to pick each other up if somebody's disappointed, to cheer if somebody has a good day. Very important. And the last page on this, and this is something that's been out there a long time, so certainly you can work with your upline or you have it yourself, is what we call the profile sheets. And the way that came about is when I started with my sponsor, Jeff Roberti. He used to say, well, Cheryl, tell me all about the person before we talk to him, so he would know how to, share his story and others. So on that profile sheet, what I'm wanting to know about each one of those 15 people is, their name, their occupation, are they entrepreneurial? Are they health conscious? Do they have children? Are they self-motivated? Or are they money motivated? And back to the question, what do you love, like, or admire about that person? Because the first thing I'm going to do is share with the person when we talk, if we are doing a Zoom call, a 3-way call, because my responsibility to my new person is to come behind that person and share my story with their contact. But the first thing I'm going to say is, so-and-so really admires you. I don't know if they would, tell you this themselves, but I asked if they could choose anyone, who would it be? And you were one of the first on their list. And the reason is, and I'm going to say exactly what my new team member has described as what they really love and like and admire about that person. Now, what that does is that creates that bridge that really strengthens that relationship. And whether the person decides they want to be part of this or not, they do have then the strength of encouraging that relationship that we all want to preserve our relationships. And so it's a very important part, I feel, of it. And this has been something that's been very basic for me all these years, and it's always been something that helped us kick off and start someone's business. So tonight I wanted to go a little further, though, and talk about how to, if you're already in our business, if you're already a team member and you'd like to grow bigger, where would you go now to look for new team members? Now, in talking about a brand new person, what I'm going to do is I'm going to help them put their frontline people together with the homework sheets as I've described. And immediately I'm going to step in and help those who are brand new do the same thing. So I'll do my new team member, all of their new team members right away, and then all of their new team members right away. So I'm going to step 1, 2, 3. So that's to put that, unit of team members together as quickly as possible. Now, it doesn't mean that people have to be all out 24 hours a day doing this. They now are beginning to get a business mindset. But let's say that you have been at this for some time and you want to regenerate. One of the things that I do on a regular basis is kind of give new life to my business, is to go on what I call a recruiting frenzy, okay? And that's to bring on a whole new set of team members. So I am going to look for, where are the places that I can generate new team development. It might be one-on-one meetings that, as I go through life. It might be, I'm listening always for who's interested in what, who's worried about what, who's worried about health, who's worried about the economy, things of that nature. But let's say that your business is one that you want to breathe some new life into. So where do you go, to do that? Once you have a business that's in place and growing, but you'd like to give it an infusion of new life. And as I said, I think this is one of the best times right now to do this, because we're going into the last 2 months of the year. It's in these 2 months that you literally write your check for the next year. You will create next year's income by the activity that happens in November and December. And this has always been the case. These are holiday months. So they're months where people get together with family and friends. There's a lot of exposure to people, but it's a very important time to really lay that groundwork to really have a great new and prosperous new year, as we hear so often. So where do you go to find frontline distributors to develop structure and increase volume? Well, first of all, if you have a business that's already in place, you would go back to all existing distributors. And sometimes you'll have people who will be, you might say, just a little dormant. They may be, doing the same thing every month, but they haven't grown any. And I believe in at least one last chance, okay, for those dormant or complacent distributors in having a conversation. We want to revisit their why. Find out what they truly want from this. Go back and have that discussion again. Invite them to be part of the program and get a full, firm plan or time commitment from that person. If there is some energy, some new energy to reunite or to reignite. Now, this is what I'm seeing in my business right now is I have a lot of people who have either been dormant. Some of them have actually fallen off the rolls and have called me and said, I'm really thinking about starting this up again. And so, there is an energy out there right now. And as you're with this for a long time, you begin to be able to identify that and feel it. There's an energy that's kind of in the air where, the product makes sense, the business makes sense, because there's so much interest in our society today in entrepreneurial activities. And this is very entrepreneurial. So I would go back, first of all, to all those people on your team and see who wants to play. Also, you have a really good reason to go back and talk about the new incentives as far as the company, the facelift on the marketing model, the fact that there are a lot of bonuses in place now and a great time to regenerate, all the positions that have new incentives. It's a really good time to re-energize people who might have been just complacent. So that's the first place I'm going to go back to look for new energy. The next area is to really research your preferred customer base. Many people have lots of preferred customers, and, you might have a lot, you might have a few. I look at the PVC reports and I'll see people with anywhere from 5 or 6 preferred customers to 110 preferred customers. Anything over 40, some of those people need to be team members. Even 40, they're team members within that number. Usually, for every 10 customers you've got, you have 1 to 2 potential distributors. Now, what I would do there, and especially in follow-up, you're going to know this, is who's in love with your product. When you do follow-up and they really love the product, who's in love with it. And we do something that some of us call gold mining calls, or, dialing for dollars. There's been all kind of names for it over the years. But it's to really use your upline. If I'm working with a team member that we're going through the customer base and we're looking for those people who are potential teammates or partners, we're going to do impromptu calls where my distributor would have me on the line and say something to the effect, I was just talking to the person I work with, and I was telling them how much you love the product and they wanted to meet you. And so then I would come on and say, I have heard about you. I've heard about the fact that you've been on the product for however long. The distributor's going to let me know that. And I love the product too. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself and my story, but I really want to hear about you and why you love the product so much. So I'm going to give them a quick little story of my own, very, within the first minute or so. And then I want to know everything they love about the product. And then the next thing I'll say is, have you ever thought about sharing that story with others? Or have you ever thought about being in business for yourself? As much as you love it, just think how many people you could help. Has that ever crossed your mind? So now I get to be the person who's offering that. I am the one, I'm not the person who sold the product to them, but I come behind as the, person from somewhere else that's going to share and invite. Uh, I'm always going to say something to the effect, I really don't know if this will be of interest to you or not, but I know that, call my distributor's name, I know that they just think the world of you, and they'd love to work with you if this is appealing. And so at that point, I'm going to get a response. There are times when the person wants to know more about it. And so that's going to be my distributor and my partner and I have already talked about, what's going to be our step if they want to know more. If they're local, maybe they're going to meet for lunch. Maybe we're going to send them information and get on another Zoom call, and we'll schedule that. We're going to schedule the activity that needs to take place for them to get a good look. Now, what I've always found is whatever is appealing to me is usually going to be appealing to the people I talk to, because people transfer emotion whether they realize it or not. So if there is a particular video or product information piece that you like, a business information piece that you like, then that probably would be the best thing to send. It's also important to make sure that you're always closing for the next time you're going to talk. People talk about closing for the product, getting a product sale, or closing for someone to become a team member. But really what you want to think about is you're always closing for the next conversation. Because as long as you have conversation going, then the potential of, future development, business development is in play. So I'm going to say, okay, this is, what's going to come to you. When can you look at it or listen to it? We make a time, we create that timeline, and I'll say, well, if it would be good for you if I call you, if you're going to watch it tomorrow at 1:00, could I call you at maybe 3? And we talk about it. And so then you can share with me what you think. It'll be something like that. And then once that happens, if the person didn't get a chance to look at it, and many times that's the case, then I'm going to go through that process again. And, when would be a good time? When do we talk again? Where do we go from here? That question of where do we go from here has been one of my very favorite for 32 years, because then the person's going to tell me what they want to see happen next. Where do we go from here? How can I help you? So my goal is to really look at helping that person, my partner, my team member, go through their preferred customer base and, find the people who love the product, who are just, in love. And then, from a business standpoint, we're securing new team members. Now, there might be people who just think the product's a great idea, but that they need something, they need income, or they're looking, or they're worried from a financial standpoint. We're going to call those people as well. And, it's really important to constantly try to not only add new customers, but always, every customer I ever have had, I'm thinking of that person always is, how quickly can I move them into distributorship? How quickly can I, help this move? And that's always the goal with your customers. So, but it is, again, that three-way, impromptu invite, congratulate them for, their, really their attention to their own good health and that of their family, and how much our company loves that they're, consuming our product. But then invite to participate in the business. Now, the person may tell you that they're not the least bit interested, that they love the product, but they're not interested in, becoming a team member. And you would say, well, we love you. You're, as a customer, but who do you know that may want to join our mission or share the story? Because we really need people to help share the story. There's so many more people than we can reach alone. And many times I'll get really good referrals that turn into great customers, great distributors from just someone who is a customer. Also, there are 4 areas, and this is the third area that I'm going to look for new team members. You make another list, even though you have already gone through people that and you may want to go back to some of the people that you originally spoke to and they didn't start up, but you make a list of the people that you would love to invite into your business. And so we're talking about dream team. You're always adding to the dream team list. Now, I'm always adding to my dream team list. You want to develop a strategy, for three-way calls with your upline or three-way Zooms, and talk about how you're going to reach out to those people to tell both the business story as well as the product story. Now, it might be inviting them to this event that we do on Thursday night. It might be a one-on-one. It might be taking somebody to lunch. But you really want to have an active dream team list going all the time, because that's going to give new infusion to your business. And then the fourth would be what I call on the street warm market, okay? And it's me going through the world, making friends with people and looking at who, might I come across that would be potentially a customer, but especially a new team member, because new team members are going to become customers. You won't have anybody who is interested in our business who's not interested in our product. That would not make sense. So I'm constantly out there with, I guess you would say, the antennas up, talking to and listening to people. I want to know people's story. I want to, what they're about, where they're from, what they do, how many children in their family, just going through the world, having conversation. And in doing so, looking for those people who are potential from a distributor standpoint. And so I've got like 3 or 4 new people lately on my list that I've come across just in various places. And I work at keeping that, active all the time. And so these 4 areas would be places where I would really encourage you. Again, just to reiterate here as we close, go back to those existing distributors that you have and see who wants to play. Who wants to play full out and really put it in place here before the end of the year to set themselves up for a great new year. You'll be surprised how many people have thought about it, but not just reached out, that are in your organization already. Your customer base, let's look at that and really, access that right away. The people that you would like to be in your business, again, that dream team, always keeping that list active, and just talking to people on the street, as I said, meeting people where you go, and having those conversations that then can lead to friendship. That's all we really do, is we're out there making friends. And I think people really are hungry for that today. If we look at technology, so many people interact with only a screen. And for so many people, that has become, in a sense, their social connection. But at the same time, there's still a hunger, especially as that grows, to have personal, in real life connection. And there's that term now, IRL, in real life, is very very prevalent as people talk about really, face-to-face conversations with real people. And so I think if you just reach out to people, if you have conversations with people, I find that when I go anywhere, whether I've got a dentist appointment or, I'm checking into a hotel or I'm grocery shopping, just, telling someone that you come across, and it has to be authentic, that either something you can be talking about anything, that whether it's the weather or, what they have on or whatever, but it's just the smile and the acknowledgement of people around you. And it truly does make people feel good. And it's a response that, when they feel good, you feel good too. So those conversations don't always lead to customers and distributors, but those conversations, if you do enough of them, will definitely find you customers and distributors. So that's my 30 minutes for tonight. I have other things we'll go over next week, but very foundational to what we do. And again, it's always that active contact list and thinking about team, go really wide, team development, and really take advantage of these next 2 months, because it's going to be a great new year, and you want to lead the parade. You don't want to just watch the parade. You want to lead the parade next year. Okay? So, Carol.
I do. Thank you, Cheryl.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks, Cheryl. Good night, guys.
Good night.
Bye. Thanks, Cheryl.
Good night, everyone.
Good
Bye,
night,
guys.
everybody.
Good seeing everybody.